Centuries ago in a temple of cinema there was a student who had undergone decades of painful training to become what it was meant to be, a filmmaker. On his last day, he asked his master a final advice that should benefit him when he will arrive in this new land called YouTube. The master said, My son, don't learn from someone who has used 1,000 lenses once, but learn from the one who uses one lens 1,000 times. I know I have given the impression that I am not a fan of Soviet lenses, which is not completely false. My main criticism concerns the exaggeration by the fan of the optical performance and, of course, their inflated price, which is well beyond their value. And also, fan club and cult membership are not my thing. For me, a lens is just a tool. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. But today, I will discuss about Soviet lenses. A bit. Long story short, I will demonstrate that contrary to the popular belief, the Helios 44M-4 is a better choice than the 44-2. And for the keyboard philosophers thinking that this subject is only whipping the bones of an already beaten dead horse, my man, the game is not over until I drop my video. Don't worry about this lens, this is just a junk that I keep for a spare part. And funny thing, none of the optic broke. So I guess we already did the crash test. Back to our story. After a year of wandering around YouTube, the student realized that most of the inhabitants of this land, by chasing a golden calf called story block, had forgotten the very soul of this art, aka the creativity. Frustrated and saddened, he then decided to open his own gym. But success is very hard to find. Friends, in order to not waste the viewer attention, the whirlwind attack should be used with caution. And for this, we will study it with two masters of this technique, the Helios 44-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, wearing white, coming from the coldness of the tundra, the unmatched in popularity, the undefeated lightweight champion for a decade in a beautiful kingdom of YouTube. With an outstanding professional record in Hollywood, the greatest, the one and the only Helios 44.
And the Helios 44M-4.
And in front of him, the challenger, wearing black, his little brother, officially weighing 300 grams. He came hoping to rewrite the history. The well-known, infamous, the least but not the last, Helios 44M-4.
Despite the fact that on paper the 44M-4 has better color rendering and resolution than the 44-2, in the field, with the same setting, the lens will look the same. Any difference will certainly be the result of the previous owner's maintenance. Just like my 44M-4 that is clearly lacking some sharpness and has some issue focusing to infinity. It has a teeny bit of contrast over the 44-2, but yet barely noticeable. The swirls are the same. The small variance is due to the light going through the leaves of the tree when the wind is blowing. Nothing much. The oval and round shapes of the bokeh are almost the same if not similar. It seems that the 44-2 tends to have more a soft bubble effect. But if I switch or remove the names, you won't even be able to tell the difference. Once you stop being hypnotized by the swirl and pay attention to the level of the chromatic aberration, this is there. Everywhere, it cannot be unseen. The pixel satanist will be in pain just by looking at it. But it does not bother me. No one in his right mind will expect no chromatic aberration at f2, right? It comes with the Helios 44 identity package. We just have to circle up and compose with it. Or you go straight to f4. Side note, at this exact moment I was thinking, man, this swirl looks too good for one Micro Four Thirds sensor. But that's for another story. Can you tell the difference? Because me, I can't. I can go on with one 35-minute video analyzing 50 photos and count each bubbles and calculate the curves of the swirl, but it won't change anything. We have to call it a draw. But here this is YouTube and we need some drama. We have to decide the winner.
There can be only one.
So let's start a fight.
Fight! Excellent.
Now let's talk about the flares. We don't know each other well enough, so I will remain polite by keeping to myself what I'm really thinking about, this dirty habit that some YouTubers have of putting flares everywhere, even in their coffee sequence. You get the idea. More seriously, the Helios 44-2 and the 44M-4 flare the same, which is no surprise as they share the same optical formula. And as you already know, a focal reducer will add more flare. Mostly in a bad way, but right now I don't mind the way the lenses are flaring with it. It's adding a fancy touch that can be interesting if you don't overdo it. Okay, so we just finished the flare testing. Let's say there is no difference in the flares. Next. But success is very hard to find, so it ran all alone for months. Then 1, and 5, and 10, 100, and finally 500 people arrived to keep him company. The student was so happy. I am very happy. Because he did not expect that his tiny gym could accommodate so many people sharing the same passion. So far, I demonstrated that the colors, the bokeh, the flares of these two lenses are almost close, if not the same, and can be confused. What is making the real difference is the quality control that was left to the worker assembling the lens and the quality of the maintenance done by the previous owner between the factory and you. I omitted to test the sharpness due to the bad condition of this lens. I was thinking it wouldn't be fair to compare it to the 44-2. It will not be one good example. Next time. Historically, the industrial design of the 44M-4 is an updated but low-cost version of the 44-2. That we know. But ergonomically speaking, this lens is just better. Why? First, the aperture. The preset mechanism with two rings of the 44-2 is something that is putting me off since day one. Okay, you can set up the aperture range to navigate freely from f2 to f16, or f22 depending on your version, but there is no clear indication of which aperture you are using, a problem that you don't have with the classic aperture of the 44M-4. 2. Focus gear. If you want to put a focus gear on the aperture of the 44-2, you don't have other choice to find and order one overpressed ring specially made for it. For the 44M-4, no biggie. A generic focusing ring like the Tilta ones, cut in half will do. 3. The body. The curved shape of the 44-2 is in itself not problematic, but better having a body that keeps the same proportion and dimension top to bottom. 4. The weight. I don't have a preference for heavy lenses, but when filming without the in-body stabilization, you will always prefer 300 grams over 230. 5. The mount. Whatever the adapter you are using, However you screw the lens, there will always be some wiggle and play in the 44-2. That will probably ruin your shot when you have to rack the focus quickly. The 44M-4 have some, yes, but far less. Oopsie. And I heard that the 44-7 have none. 6. Aperture blades. It might be the only advantage that the 44-2 has over the 44M-4. But as far I remember, you guys are using it wide open and even put a disc inside to get you an armor fake bokeh. So I don't see the point to discuss about it. And I guess we are done. To conclude, yes, the 44M-4 is a 44-2 that went through some cost reduction. But no, it is not inferior to the 44-2. The Soviet engineers did not downgrade it. They knew what they were doing. They just modernized the 44-2, and we should give them some credit for it. The 44M-4 is more suited to modern cameras. But hey, prove me wrong, and I sincerely invite you to do so. Until then,
There can be only one. Test your might. Final round. Fight! Fatality!